Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to European Racing Organization. This is F3 Championship rather than F4, which is in the description. But this is season 5 of ERO and round 16 of 18. And this time around, we are in Canada, and it is absolutely pouring down here. So, interestingly, with the 12 drivers we have here, this is going to be a tough qualifying session. Let's see if it is intermediates or wet conditions, but for now it is definitely not going to be a dry qualifying for the start of it. Let's see, it is full wets. It is full wets right now, and this is going to be a real challenge for the 12 drivers who are competing for pole position. Is Edzak is one driver who is on the intermediate, so let's ride on board with a few people if we can and see. We are with Alfam right now, who is making his way out of the pits, and it seems pretty wet right now, and I don't know how anyone is thinking of intermediates, but let's see how that works out, and we will keep an eye out on the rain as well, if it's going to reduce and lighten a little bit. As did I see wings flying? No, I don't think there is, but the Red Bull of Alex has overtaken Alfa on the outlap, so a lot of people in the pit still, and I think right now, because this is a wet qualifying, expect cars to have multiple runs on the same set of tires trying to get to the grip of conditions, and I think that's pretty much it on this. In these kind of conditions, you want to get familiar with these conditions and know the limit of your car as well as setup to see how much you can actually push in on a wet track. So here we go. Alex is the first person, and we will ride on board with him. So let's get rid of a couple of, as soon as we did that, he almost lost the car. He will still continue, but then let's follow Alfam here, who seems to probably have a slightly better run through Wall of Champions. Ivan Belov is the next car out on the pits. The drivers are making their way onto the track now after staying some while in the pits, and you can still move cars into the pits. So this is a little weird to see, because you want all the time you can on these tires and in these conditions. As Alfa has made his way through the first sector, it's purple obviously, since he's only the second driver to set a time in, and riding on board with him in the heart of sector 2, another chicane coming up here. Let's see how he navigates this one. It seems good so far, and he has good control over his car even on the curbs, so that is very impressive to see. And now into the hairpin, where he navigates it rather perfectly. Let's see how his exit is. He slightly struggled on the traction, but seems okay for now, and not sure if he has actually caught up to the Red Bull of Alex up ahead. But now approaching the final chicane and the Wall of Champions, where he has to go, and Fry Pepper sets a fastest time of a 1:21.7, so we missed his lap, but Alfam will be the next person to cross a line, and he's 3/10 off Fry Pepper's time, who is the championship leader by 2 points if I'm not wrong. So while we see more drivers putting in their lap times, and let's see what Edzak does in his Ferrari car on the intermediate tires. His teammate is not here, which is Salfera, who is one of the championship contenders, so that's a real shame. And looking at the gap, let me just have a look, as Optimus Primes has joined, so that's probably a Transformers fan who has joined. Here comes Edzak now through the start finish straight. It's a 25.3, so He's almost 3 to 4 seconds off the people on wet tires. That gives you an indication that probably the full wet tires are the best tires in these conditions. Here we go. Alex has invalidated his lap time. Is Banks on a lap? No, he's not. Is Messiek on a lap? He is. So let's follow the Alfa Romeo driver as the championship standings. Freipaper leads Alfera going into the final 3 rounds of this session, and Freipaper leads by 7 points. As I need to go off mic for a bit, so stay on board with this lap and see how it goes. Right, so I'm back. Sorry for that interruption. And Messiek has gone into P3 with Stefan Rands. He is on pole right now with a 20.9 to his name. Freipaper has gone faster and he's back into the pits now. And it will be interesting to see. Was is saying we have more viewers than drivers. That is something which we don't see often. But yeah, as we discussed yesterday, we have crossed 500 subscribers. We have 505 now, so that's a milestone for ERO. With Stefan Rands, he is on a cool down lap right now. Is Messier going for another lap? He's not. He's coming into the pits. Paul Jones is on a lap and he is improving by 7/10 it seems. So if he can keep this advantage up, he could jump Alfa for P4 here. So the Mercedes driver, let's see how he does. And talking about Stefan Rands, I think he was one of those drivers who was pretty fast in Britain, if I'm not wrong. I think he won the race in the Renault, as Paul has absolutely smashed it coming out of the wall of champions here. And he is without a front wing and he'll have to do a whole lap without that front wing before he can actually come into the pits for a wing change, as Alfa is starting his hot lap now. So let's see a clean run through the wall of champions unlike other drivers. And Alfa is on this intermediate tire, so I think more and more people are putting those times on intermediates now. And even if you ride on board with them, yeah, it is definitely not full wet conditions, as the track has dried up a little bit, the rain has eased up a little bit, and with more cars doing the laps, it pushes more water out of the way. So I'm not sure if we will see a dry track at the end of the session, but it is definitely in tough condition now. And for the people, as Alfa, almost look at him struggling with the car, fighting his steering wheel, and this is tricky conditions, but I think they have improved since the start of the session. And with 8 minutes to go, there's a yellow flag up ahead. There is a Mercedes. I think that's Paul who's trying to make his way back into the pits. Yeah, that's definitely Paul, who has gone so deep, is absolutely in a different postcode right now than the Apex. But Alfa has made his way. I did not notice what the split was, but here is Alfa now and he has one more braking decision to make before the final chicane. Let's see how this lap turns out. He turns in a little early and he has invalidated his lap time. That's a real shame. If you continue, let's see what that lap time going to be. It would have been a 27.21.3 and could have been faster, so it could have been front row for Alfa, but I think he will have more fuel than just a couple of laps, so he can probably make it to the. I think Stefan is on an out lap and he is on those intermediate tires, so let's see how his lap turns out to be. Here is Stefan now. Let's ride on board with him. And Stefan navigating the first corner pretty well, taking a lot of curb, not afraid to take curb even in these conditions, and is overdriving the car here, which is slightly weird to see. But into the fourth gear he takes the first chicane, and the rain has definitely eased up on these drivers. He is up by almost 2 tenths in the first sector, has put a fastest first sector of all in this session, and now approaching the second chicane on the track. Let's see what his split time is going to be, which we will see in just a moment. Here is Stefan now going into the hairpin, and before that he is up by 7 tenths, so this is going to be a cracker of a lap from Stefan Rantz, and it could be also in the 119s. This is definitely going to be in the 119s if he keeps his advantage going into the third sector. The hairpin and the exit was decent, and now approaching the final chicane and the wall of champion. He has a little bit correction to make, but that was nicely done, and now taking the shortest run to the finish line. It is going to be a 20.0, so just not enough for the 19s there. And meanwhile it is Fry Pepper also on a lap right now, and let's see where this lap puts him. He's already put in a lap of a 20.5, but I think he is going for another push lap as some driver up front. Who is that? That is the Williams of Kaisachi, who is struggling on those wet tires and will be probably coming in for a change of tires here. Let's see. Alex meanwhile has gone P2 with a 20.1, so the times are tumbling down, and Fry Pepper is on a lap right now. He has traffic up ahead because people are starting their laps, but this is Fry Pepper who is coming into the pits, and Radosem meanwhile can go faster. He has gone faster with a 20.4 to his name. Edzek and Optimus Prime, and along with Kaisachi. So the three drivers are on wets right now. Kaisachi is back into the pits, so he might change his tires to intermediate tires. It's definitely Inter's condition right now. We're following Messiak in the Alfa Romeo. The Alfa Romeo boys are P7 and P8 right now, so if things stand as they are, both of them will start on the fourth row of the grid, but I'm sure they are hoping to get faster as these conditions continue to improve. Messiak on a lap right now, and let's see how the rest of the lap turns out for the Alfa Romeo drivers. Banks has gone P2 with a 19.5, so Stefan has finally broken the barrier. So 19.1 for him. The time certainly tumbling down as Messiak is almost a second faster than his previous best lap time. It's a purple second sector, and the exit is pretty good out of the hairpin, and this advantage which he has, if he continues to keep that, he will be on course to beat Fry Pepper maybe for the position of P5. That was nicely done through the last chicane, and now it will be a lap of 20.2, so he is into P4 now. And let's see if anyone else is on a lap right now. Banks is down by 3 tenths and then 9 tenths in the second sector. Is Stefan on a faster lap? No, I think not. He is coming back into the pits. Who else is on a lap right now? Optimus Prime still continuing. Edzek is finally into the pits. Optimus Prime continuing on those wet tires. He still has time to go into the pits, have a change of tires. Let's see if he decides to do that or not. Yeah, he is. He's definitely coming in for a set of inters. Alpha meanwhile is on a lap, and let's see if he improves his time. Not sure if he was up on his sector times, but he's on the correct tire at the moment, and from whatever onboards we have seen of him, he seems to be in pretty good control of his car. Just needs to push a little bit more, maybe take more risks to get to a higher grid position as he uses the exit curb completely at the, and he goes pole. It's pole position, provisional pole position for Alpha with a 19.0. So the next target for drivers is that time to beat, and with a lot of drivers into the pits, it's Fry Pepper who is also on a lap right now. He has just started his hot lap, and let's see if he's able to beat Alpham's time, because that's a really good time, and I think the drivers would be probably thinking that a time in the 18s is also possible. Is up by 6 tenths. Fry Pepper is in the first sector alone, and as he navigates the first and the second chicanes, there's another car which was probably Alpha. His teammate has moved out of the way. The championship leader right now is on course to put a good lap time in. You will see on the top right what his advantage is 1.196, so it's almost 1.2 seconds. And now through the hairpin, he keeps it in first gear for the most part of it to get that rotation in, but on the exit he then quickly shifts to the second and the third gear. Now he has the final chicane and the wall of champions to navigate before he sees the finish line. That was really nicely done through there, taking a lot of curb at the entry and the exit. Approaching the finish line. Is this going to be pole? It's not. It's P3 for now with a 19.138, and he still has time to go lap, but that will be his last lap of the session. Alpha has retired. Where is that? That is in the pit lane. Sorry for getting excited. It's into the pit lane. Paul Jones has gone a little faster, 19.3, and Ivan Belov is also on a lap right now. And before we do that, there's a Williams crossing the line. That's probably Banks, Banks is starting a hot lap, and Alex has eliminated his lap time, completely cutting the grass there. Not sure what he's trying to do. I don't think he'll get back in time either way. Masiek is on an out lap. Is Redoshelm on a lap? He is. There's probably an Alpha Tauri. Is that Gooch who has eliminated his lap time? Let's see if anyone else is on a lap right now. Stefan's on a lap. Stefan is on a lap and he's down by 10 seconds. So Stefan's, I don't think he'll start any higher than P2. Fry Pepper is up by almost 4 tenths, and there he goes, the Haas driver. And let's see, this could very well be a lap in the 18s for pole. It is. It's an 18.6 for Fry Pepper, so that is the provisional pole. Behind, let's see who is on the lap. The Williams crossing the line, not improving. Is anyone else on a lap right now? Guys, Sachi is on a lap. No, he's not. Is Banks on a lap? He has eliminated his lap time. There's Stefan Rands, who is not going to improve. Is Optimus Prime on a lap? He is. Let's follow Optimus then, because he will be the next person to finish his lap. And let's see what this lap time is going to be as he crosses the finish line now. This is going to be a good lap. It's a 19.5, which puts him P7, and we are on board with his teammate now, Gooch, who is also on a lap, and let's see where he finishes. He's P13 right now without any time on the board, so this will be his only valid time lap of the session. It's a 22.2, which keeps him at the bottom of the grid. Masiak will be the next person to finish the line, and let's see where he puts his car. It's P4. Good lap from Masiak with a 19.2. Ivan Belov is into the pits, and I think that is the grid for the race. Not sure if it is dry or wet, but Fry Pepper, the championship leader, has taken pole by 4 tenths over Alfam in P2. So these are the two drivers who will start on front row. Stefan Rands, the winner of the previous race in Silverstone, starting P3 with Masiek in P4. Ivan Belov is in P5, Paul Jones in P6. I think Optimus Prime is facing more connection issues. He has disconnected from the session again. Right, so that's the confirmation on your screen. Fry Pepper, Alfam, Stefan Rans, Messiak are the top 4, with Ivan Bellows and Paul Jones starting on the 3rd row of the grid, with Banks and Optimus Prime on the 4th row. The Renault of Redo Shelm, that's a surprisingly poor qualifying from him, starting P9. And Alex in P10 has some grid penalties, with Kaisachi, Edzak and DJ Gooch at the back of the grid. So hoping for a good race here, without any lobby glitches of course, as it is wet in the race as well. Wow, so it's a fully wet weekend as far as the F3 race is concerned, and that is something to be considered, because now they have to start on the tires they qualified on, unless the game thinks it is full wet conditions and they are all starting on the full wets. But if they're starting on inters, because you saw most of the drivers were putting time on the intermediate tires, and if they have to start on those intermediate tires, they will be a use set. Not sure how the rain is going to be for. Is it going to be for the entire race, or is it going to be just for a first few laps? But it seems like it is full wets. It is full wets. You can see on the screen on the left, it is full wets, and that is something to be worried about. Full wets around this track. It's not an easy track to be driving in the wets because of the chicanes and because of the traction zones and slow corners and such. So this is a different type of challenge, which I am sure these drivers are definitely up to. So let's see how they navigate these circumstances. But most of these drivers will be on a fresh set of wet tires. Do the intermediate tires come into play later on? We will have to wait and watch. But what a good 35 laps we have in front of us, and hopefully there are no incidents in the first laps, and Optimus Prime, as he's facing more issues with his connection. Yeah, as I was saying, hopefully we have a clean start without any carnage, and we are able to see a lot of battles side by side, maybe even 3 wide going to turn 1. That is something which we see sometimes in Canada, because the run up to the first corner is not very long, and if you gain an advantage in the first few meters after the launch, you usually tend to keep it, because as I said, the run up to the first turn is not very long on this track. So the drivers are doing their best right now to warm up their tires, because these are conditions in which the tires will lose temperature very easily, and it's really hard to warm them up, especially on a formation lap or under a safety car as such. But who's the Haas? Is that Fry Pepper? That is Fry Pepper, and him and Alfam have gone quite early, so they will have to wait quite a long time before they wait for the rest of the grid. But either ways, the other cars have caught up, and we are going to be underway in just a few seconds. 13 cars on the grid, 35 laps to go, and one winner will emerge out of these 35 laps in the next 45 minutes or so. Here we go. This is, don't see the lights yet. Yeah, there are the lights, 3, 4, 5 lights on the grid. Lights out when we're underway. It's a good start from Fry Pepper, but Alfam is going to challenge him into the first corner. Freiberger cuts him off for now, so Freiberger will lead, and the Renault Stefan behind us. There is Ivan Belov who is trying to fight with Paul Jones, that is, and Paul almost losing the traction here, but it's a gingerly start for everyone as Freiberger leads them into the second corner, but all the while Stefan is on the back of Alpham for now. These are very, very tricky conditions, and for now it seems like everyone is in one piece as Banks, the Williams, runs into the back of Paul Jones there, but no damage done as behind the Alpha, or rather the Red Bull of Optimus Prime, I think, has joined back the session. Oh, that's the first bit of action we were looking for, and Alex is around, and I think Optimus Prime has damage as well. Edzek is into P9 and Alex is at the back of the grid. I don't think there will be any safety car for this. Optimus Prime losing more positions. He has left end plate damage and his teammate is behind him in DJ Gooch. Not sure if they are going to pit, but for now this is Banks and Redo Shelm who is challenging Banks, who is on the back of Paul Jones right now. So while the lobby does its own thing, it will be glitched for a couple of laps, so please bear with that. As up ahead it's Paul Jones who is trying to make a move on Ivan Belov. So it is Mercedes versus Racing Point right now, but Ivan Belov has gained some ground on him and is actually on the back of Messiek, who has not really made any impressions on the top 3 as of yet, as Freiberger's gap up front is more than a second already. But here we go, riding on board as Optimus has left the session again. And see Alex, look at the run which Belov has got on Messiek. Is he going to go round the outside of the Alfa Romeo? Let's see how it turns out. Messiek stays in front for now, but on the exit, let's see. Oh, that is exactly what these conditions do to you. And he has lost a position. He has lost 2 positions, has Belov. Instead of gaining 1, was trying to put Messiek under the pressure, and this time he's going to lose a 3rd one to Redo Shelm. So he has lost 3 positions instead of making 1, and he is now on the back of Redo Shelm. These are very, very tricky conditions up ahead. Banks is behind Paul Jones now, so in all that, even Banks has lost a position there to Paul Jones, and the Williams driver is now staring at the back of the Mercedes. And all the while Stefan Renz is also keeping the top 2 honest. While there haven't been a lot of position changes, but still let's have a look. So the top 4 are as they are. Paul Jones, Banks have gained 1 position each, so has DJ Gooch. Optimus Prime is into the pits. I don't think this is intermediate tires yet, but he is into the pits. And Ivan Belov has lost a lot of positions. That's 3 positions which we just saw on the previous lap. And Edzek has gained 2 positions. Kaisa remains stationed in P10. That's the last points paying position for now. And Optimus Prime, because of that contact with a driver on lap 1, has lost positions, and rather he has lost positions because of disconnections here, but I think he has gained back the time or some time, as up front it is, yeah, everything seems to be on course right now. Not a lot of changes, and I think the next time the drivers will cross the line, yeah, that's the interval which we were looking for, so we can follow battles closely. Freiberger is leading comfortably and is slowly getting into his element of racing and trying to ensure that he keeps his lead going into the final couple of races of the season. Alex is behind, and look at the gap Alex has on the minimap. The Red Bull is yet to finish the start finish line. He's approaching the final chicane now, and Alex gets a 3-second time penalty when he was on that corner, so not a good race for him at all so far. And when he approaches, he's 25 seconds behind, And let's continue to monitor this gap actually, because this gap, and let's see whether those intermediate tires are faster than the full wets. But for now the gap is 25 seconds and is increasing, it seems like. And at the same time it's Red O'Shelm who is challenging Banks for P6. But these four cars, that is Paul Jones, Banks, Red O'Shelm, E1 and Red Zack, so 5 cars in fact, are in a battle of their own. As up front Alfam has reduced the gap considerably to Fry Pepper. He is absolutely flying right now. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. But he has reduced the gap by quite a bit, and he is almost on the back of the Haas driver right now. Right, so we're following this battle for the lead, and not a good exit from Alfam here. That makes Stefan really excited. Let's see if he's going to go for a move, which is going to be risky around this section of the track. But on the exit of the corner, which is coming up now, that is where we will be able to see if Stefan can put Alfam under the pressure going into the last chicane. Alfam goes a little deep again. Stefan takes a very tight line through that corner, but because he went deep, Alfam was able to get on the power a little bit earlier. But here is Stefan now. He's not using his ERS, so probably is not looking for an overtake right now. But this has helped Fry Pepper, and these two are both coming into the pits. Alfam has a 5-second grid penalty, or rather 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane. And I think because it's a very early pit stop, this is going to be on the intermediate tires. Yeah, it is the intermediate tires now, so the track seems to be improving. The conditions on the track seem to be improving. Fry Pepper has stayed out, but in the pits are Alfam, Stefan, Rands, Banks and even Bellow. So a lot of drivers are hoping to take advantage of these improved conditions and trying to make their way past the people they were battling, as Alfam now is on a charge, and the gap which he has to Kaisashi in P6 is decreasing every corner. But he has a 5-second penalty which will not be taken away, as Alex, look at his gap now. And is that, oh, that's DJ Gooch who has gone round and he was sideways. He's fine now, and that is really unfortunate. I think he was being overtaken by E1 Belov there, as Alfam has closed a further 7 or 8 tenths to Kaisachi, who is on the wet tire still. Is Fry Pepper coming into the pits? He is. Is Masiak coming into the pits now? I think he surely will be coming into the pits. Yeah, he is. Paul Jones, Red O'Shelm, Edzek stays out. Edzek stays out, Kaisachi is in. So this is a little different than what we imagined. Edzek stays out for one more lap, and let's see if Alfam can take P2. He comfortably does. Not comfortably, but he does jump Fry Pepper here. So the decision to go one lap earlier on the intermediate tires has helped him out. But he has now a 5-second time penalty because of speeding into the pit lane to be worried about, as Alex has overtaken DJ Goose, who was in the pits probably for a fresh set of intermediate tires. And behind it's Paul Jones, who is trying to get past Ivan Belov, who probably had an incident with DJ Goose. We won't know for sure until we see some kind of footage from both drivers, but they were on the same part of the track at the same time, as Messier gets a 3-second time penalty. And remember, this is a lap where time penalties are very important, because you are going to gain a lot of places if you get lesser penalties, because a lot of chicanes on this track, and while it is a little difficult to get penalties in the wet as it is compared to the dry, conditions, but you never know. We're riding on board with Ivan Belov right now as Alfam puts the fastest lap of the race. Edzak has stayed out for one more lap here, so he's definitely thinks that something else. Who has gone there? Is that DJ Gooch? Again it is. So he is not liking these conditions at all, and I don't think there's any damage. Thankfully, Alfam gets a 3-second time penalty, so that's 8 seconds of penalties he will have to deal with, and all the time it is Fry Pepper who is within that 1 second window. Although it doesn't mean for much because there is no DRS in these conditions, but he is getting ever so closer to Alfam, and if Alfam makes a couple of more mistakes, Fry Pepper can actually get P2, as both of them are now on the back of Edzak, who has decided to stay out on those wet tires. So not sure what his strategy is here. Is he going to come into the pits this time around? We will have to wait and see, as they're riding on board with the championship leader Fry Pepper, and let's see what it does. Is Alfam going to overtake? He's back behind, but Alfam is not going to take, and Edzak stays out for one more lap here. That is really strange to see. Here goes Alfam now. Better exit from the corner. Alfam is into the lead of the race. Edzak has to stay behind, and now Alfam would hope, as Banks puts his fastest lap of the race, Alfam would hope that Banks can hold Fry Pepper up for maybe just a lap or so, and that will give Alfam the necessary but not sufficient time to go, as Alex has retired from the session that is in the pits. So I don't think that is going to bring out any flag of sorts, as here goes Fry Pepper. Better traction out of the corner, and Fry Pepper is through, and that is then Edzak into P3, and behind it is Ivan Belov. He is still behind Messick, so you will not see a lot of changes here. Edzak loses one more position to Stefan Rand, so Edzak is running P4 right now, and if he's not careful in the next few laps, the likes of Banks, Messick and Ivan Belov will also be on the back of him. Here is Radasham going to make a move? I probably don't think so, but Messick is definitely under pressure from the Russian Ivan Belov, but I don't think there is going to be any move right now, as Edzak still stays out, and the gap is going to be less than 4 seconds in a minute. Yeah, that's the gap, less than 4 seconds. So in the last just a second and a half, Edzak has lost more than a second to the likes of Messick and Ivan Belov. So not entirely sure what his strategy is here, but he is confident that his decision to stay out on the full wet tires will pay off. We don't know what the conditions are going to be like in the next 2-3 laps or so, but it seems like Edzak has made up his mind and is going to stay out for a few more laps. Right now, as it stands, Fry Pepper is, let's look at the drift from Belov in the racing point, almost losing the car at the exit of the chicane. But as I was saying, right now it's an advantage Fry Pepper because of the 8 seconds penalties which Alfam has, and the gap which Edzak has lost to Banks here, it is a further 2 seconds, so he is losing more than 2 seconds a lap here to Messick. Stefan Rand puts the fastest lap of the race, the 121.2, and in no time, I think by the end of this lap, maybe before the end of this lap, Messick is going to catch Edzak here. But this battle will go on for a while here. We turn attention to the battle at the top, and it's Alfam who seem to have lost some time to Fry Pepper, who is being caught by Stefan Rand himself. So the race is still not over. I know it's difficult here. We all know it's difficult to overtake in these conditions, but I think we really cannot count out Stefan on this track right now, because the kind of pace he's showing it is going to be difficult, but it is not impossible, and especially if there's a pit stop up ahead, as Edzek has finally lost a position as we thought he would on the track, as Messi probably hits the wall at the exit, but Edzek has lost a position. That's before the end of this lap. As up ahead it is Fry Pepper, who is still running in P2 and is being chased by Stefan Rands, who is a bit of a stalemate here, but Loki is hoping that there is no rain in F2. Let's see if that happens later tonight. But Ivan Belov still behind Masiak, so this is a typical wet race where you will not see a lot of overtaking. You will see a lot of battles, close battles with cars running behind each other, but not really being able to make decisive moves per se. Right, so we had 1/3 race distance so far, and Ivan Belov up ahead is almost on the back of Masiak. He sends it down the inside, and that is Ivan Belov. What a move! He is into P6. He has got that position, and I think in the next lap, and maybe at this back straight itself, as he gets a little bit of a tap maybe from Masiak behind. But what a move from Ivan Belov, and he's going to make one more overtake on Edzek. There's nothing the Ferrari driver can do about it, as he stays ahead for now because of maybe using his ERS to defend. But right now Red Ocean with a 3-second penalty. Ivan Belov this time getting a better exit at the final corner is going to make a move for P5. Edzek is trying to fight it, will try to do down the inside. Masiak, what has happened behind? Something has happened behind. That is Paul Jones. I definitely heard contact of cars there, and Paul Jones, and that's Kaisachi. That is really unfortunate. That's Kaisachi who has lost the car, has run into the back of Paul Jones there, and Masiak right now is behind Edzek, and he's losing time to Ivan Belov, who has already sped away. Let's see if Masiak can make a move down the inside like Ivan did, but not right now. And Optimus Prime is also getting interested, but the Shadow Realm taking advantage of that, and Masiak has gotten past Edzek as well, and all's happening here. And as Edzek is going to lose one more position to Red Ocean, so I really don't understand the decision to stay out still on these tires, and this is really hurting his race. Does he finally come in? Yes, he does. So this is finally when he decides to come in, and I think it's a little too late to come in now. He's on those intermediate tires. He has tried his strategy, which has clearly not worked, and he will now try to catch the other drivers, but it is going to be a very tough ask. He was running in P5 or P6 maybe, but now he has lost a lot of time. As up ahead, Stephens is still putting more pressure on Fry Pepper, but not really working out right now. Let me quickly see where Edzek was running when people started pitting for those intermediate tires. I think it was lap 5 or lap 6 when that happened. Yeah, Edzek was running P9, so practically has lost just one position there. Not a lot of positions he has lost, but he did lose some time to the drivers in front, and right now he's behind Kaisachi in the Williams, who is on 7 lap old intermediate tires. So while these tires are very durable, but if there's a difference between tire life is 7 laps, it certainly helps. As up ahead, Stefan Rands is very very close to Fry Pepper right now with just 4 tenths between them, but we're following this battle right now. Paul Jones gets a 3-second time penalty, and is Edzek going to make a move? Not right now. Let's see at the exit of this corner as Kaisachi is into the pits. It's definitely getting drier here, but definitely not dry enough for a set of slick tires here. What does Kaisachi go on? That is what I am concerned about. Is going on a set of intermediate tires. So that's a wing change. That's why. That's a wing change, which is why he has had to make a pit stop here. But if you see, if you're riding on board with people, it is definitely drying up. And yeah, it's not wet conditions right now, rather dry conditions right now, but it is definitely drying up. And would we actually see some dry running here? Because the rain is still continuing to fall, so as long as that happens and the track has standing water, intermediate tires will be the tires to be on. But you never know what's going to happen in the final 20 or so laps of the race, as these guys have stayed within themselves. And as things stands, Banks will finish on the podium because of the 8-second time penalty for Alfa Romeo. Let's have a look at penalties once again to just confirm who has how many penalties. So that's 8 seconds for Alfa Romeo, that's 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane, and 3 seconds time penalties. Ivan Belov, Masiek, Radoshelm and Paul Jones, the midfield runners, have 3-second time penalties each. And DJ Gooch, who is running P11 right now in the Alpha Tauri, neither of the Alpha Tauri is having a good race right now, running out of the points. DJ Gooch having a 3-second time penalty as well. So as expected, not a lot of time penalties. Probably missing an apex here or there would have resulted into that, but otherwise in these wet conditions you don't see a lot of time penalties on a track. Right, Stephens has gotten really close to Fry Pepper, but Fry Pepper seems to have... Is Alfam into the pits? Alfam is into the pits, and is he going for slicks? I think it's too early for slicks. He's going for a pair of medium tires. He's serving his 5-second time penalty. There are more people into the pits, so it has suddenly become very, very dry, it seems. Alfam into the pits, serving his 5-second time penalty, and this is now going to be very interesting here. As there's a yellow flag, that's a Williams. Is that Kaisachi who has lost it? Yes, it is. And those intermediate tires would be screaming right now. What has happened up ahead? Let's have a quick look at the tire which everyone is on. You can see a lot of drivers. Banks has made the call now, and he is flying. And the decision for Fry Pepper and Stefan to stay out could very well bring Banks into the play if he's able to get a good outlap on those medium tires right now. As you can see, Paul Jones is on a set of hards here, and up front these two drivers would be racing to the pits. They are in different cars, of course, so they would not hold each other up, but they know that there are faster cars up ahead, as that's an overtake by Stefan, and he has just gotten in front of Fry Pepper here into the pit, so he might come out ahead of the driver as well. But let's have a look at the Alfam and the likes, and where do these people go out? Has Fry Pepper and Stefan Rans are both now on the medium tires. Where does Alfam come out in all this? He is almost going to overtake them. That's Fry Pepper who's out, so Fry Pepper has jumped Alfam and Banks both, so the order is still going to be the same, and that is something which we did not really expect, because I thought Alfam would probably jump them, but maybe the track was just about wet enough for the top two to stay in front. But the big news is, and Fry Pepper has a penalty. That is something which I did not notice. What penalty is this? Is this a 3-second time penalty? It is. So Stefan right now as it stands will finish the race in P1, because he is anyway leading the race and he doesn't have time penalties like the people around him, and this puts Banks in a really good position here. He could be on for a podium, maybe even a P2 here. So the next few laps are very crucial for these drivers, because now it is a dry race and they have to get comfortable with these conditions, which are easy, but they also have to ensure that they stop their car on time and they don't overshoot corners or cut corners, as Optimus Prime gets a 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. But yeah, as I was saying, these drivers have to be careful about time penalties now, because now suddenly you will see a lot of time penalties or warnings for drivers popping up because of the corners. The nature of the corners, which is here, is the fastest lap time will keep tumbling for the next few laps. So we will have a look at who has the fastest lap, maybe around lap 25 or so, to get a good feel of the conditions, as Red O'Shelm, using that pace, has absolutely cut down the gap on Paul Jones. So the Mercedes driver is under pressure here from Redo, who was in F4 earlier, if you remember, and now he is into F3 and is making life difficult for the Mercedes driver using DRS. He's going to go down the inside into the braking zone. That is Redo, who is into P7 now, but Paul Jones is behind, and if Paul Jones can, he's not going to go down the inside here, but he might as well overtake him or try to overtake Redo, who has got a pretty good exit, I might say. So not sure if Paul will be able to do anything about that, but that is a good overtake from Redo, and he will be hoping to make use of those medium tires, as everyone in the field right now except two drivers, which is Paul Jones on hards and Optimus Prime on those soft tires, everyone else is on a set of medium tires. Red O'Shelm is absolutely flying right now. It's a 14.5. Alpham gets another 3-second time penalty, so that is a real shame for him. And Fry Pepper, because of the gap he has, will still finish in P2 despite his time penalties, but Alpham's P3 is in a real danger here, because Banks, who is in the Williams and running P4, has no time penalties. I remember, was it Silverstone? Maybe it was Silverstone, where Banks had a really good second stint of the race. I think he was started P15 but finished P4 or something like that. That was a really good race for him. And I'm just going to quickly look where he started this time around. He started P7 and is running in P4 right now. Could get a podium, so he has that ability, Banks, in the Williams, to turn up in the races and show really good race pace as opposed to qualifying pace. Although P7 is not a bad position to start at all, we're still following Red O'Shelm here. And is he going to go for another fastest lap here? He has a lot of battery left, and Banks has a 3-second penalty. That's the driver whom we were praising so far, but Banks has a 3-second time penalty now, which will not help at all, as the gap up front now is less than a second. So that is Fry Pepper on a charge as he goes. That camera was onto the right of the car and he almost looked like he will hit the wall there. He has kept it out of the barriers, but Fry Pepper will have DRS now, and this is going to be interesting. There's no move going to happen on this lap, mind you, but it will help him to get closer to the Renault of Stefan Rands, and if he can get in touch and get in front of Stefan Rands, he can try to pull out a gap which is necessary to in this race, as Fry Pepper now pushing as Banks is into the pits. That is strange. Is he going for a wing change here? Because yeah, there is. So there is definite damage to the wing of the Williams. He's going for another set of mediums. Maybe he could have gone softs, but that is his call, and he is out now. He will be out in. He's going to lose 2 more positions, isn't he? At least one. He loses 1 to Edzak. He will not lose another, I think. Oh, he comes out ahead of Edzak, just out ahead of Edzak. So Banks it out in P8 and up ahead. Fry Pepper is within that 1 second window again, but has not really gained a lot of time since we saw these two drivers. So Stefan Rands still looking good to win this race, and with 13 laps to go, Let's see how it turns out. Right, so we are back. Sorry for the interruption. Not really feeling too good tonight. But Fry Pepper, we are still following him and he's struggling to get past the Renault, isn't he? The Haas driver. He is in the DRS, but not really able to make that mistake. And let's ride on board with him for one full lap and see what kind of lines does he take and what kind of lines does the Renault of Stefan Rand's take. This section is completely flat out in the dry, not so much in the wets, and he seems to be a little faster than the Renault or Stefan Rand's in the first section, or the first sector rather, but it is the exit of the hairpin where I think Stefan Rand's has an advantage over Fry Pepper here. Let's see. Fry Pepper takes a little bit of the curb, takes a slightly tighter line through that corner, and look at that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the exit of the hairpin is where Stefan Rand seems to have an advantage. We are not sure what kind of setup these guys are running because the quali was completely wet and the race, half of the race was wet. So not entirely sure what has happened, but behind what has happened is Maziek has gotten in touch. It's in touching distance of Bello here, Ivan Bello, who is running P4 right now, and Maziek with those additional 3-second time penalties as compared to Ivan Bello, he runs really close to him right now. He is definitely looking the faster car, and the next time these guys are on the back straight, an overtake could be on the cards. But Maziek has to remember he has more penalties than the Racing Point driver, so both of them have to be careful as Alfam gets another 3-second time penalty. That's a lot of penalties. That's 9 seconds of penalties for him. But Ivan Bello, who's running P4 right now, will not be able to take advantage of those time penalties, and Maziek as well with those 6 seconds of time penalties. So Alfam right now as it stands might still finish in P3 despite those time penalties, and that will be a relief for him. Here is Maziek now down the inside of Ivan Bello. Maziek is through and he is into P4, but what he needs to ensure that he can get a gap of those 3+ seconds so that he ensures and solidifies that P4, unless Ivan gets another 3-second time penalty, which will be not good for his race. Behind, Edzek has gotten another penalty as well. He is now almost 4 seconds behind Banks, who is catching Paul Jones, by the way. So we will keep an eye out on that battle. And up ahead, these two are still in a battle, and Stefan Rand has been able to keep Fry Pepper at bay. And with just 9 laps to go after this one, it seems like Stefan Rand has this under control. And up ahead, this is Banks now, who is, after that late pit stop, is on the back of Paul Jones, and the Mercedes driver will be under pressure. Not into this braking zone, because the gap which he has right now, 6 tenths, might just not be enough to make a move. Max is not really using his DRS, so he's just using his giving as Paul Jones is into the pits. For the final 8 laps, Paul Jones is into the pits, and on the hard tires. Is that a wing change? That is a wing change. He'll be on those soft tires, so he will be looking to get the fastest lap, but he has that wing change as is Edzek into the pits as well. So he has had a wing change as well, so these two will be now dropping to P8 in P9. That will not do their race any good. Up front, the gap still remains, and Stefan leading comfortably for now. It is bright and sunny here, and Fry Pepper is as close he has been, and look at the battery he has, almost 90%. He's using a bit of it on the exit, but he knows he will not be able to overtake on this lap, so that is smart racing from the championship leader, which is probably why he's also the championship leader. But as things stand, Stefan is going to win this race. Right, so sorry for that distraction, but you can see that Fry Pepper is within just 3 tenths now of Stefan Rans. So in this final few laps, it seems like Fry Pepper was conserving his battery, but you can see that Stefan Rans has a lot of battery as well. So this is going to be intense here with the final few laps, and what's in Stefan Rans' favor is the track position, but he has lost track position now, and Fry Pepper is down the inside. These two guys going down the final few laps here. Is Stefan Rans going to get DRS here? He is. No, he's not. It's who has got DRS? I'm not really sure, but Stefan Rans is down the oh, that is contact between the top two. Stefan Rans has to come into the pits. Not enough space for two cars. I mean, there is enough space, but he was probably misjudgment of a space there, and it has gone horribly wrong for the Renault driver. He will lose at least 2 more positions here. He will come out in P5 maybe, or worse, you're in P6. Alfam gets another 3-second time penalty. Stefan Rands is now going to be behind his teammate maybe. We will wait and see. He's going to be ahead of his teammates. As you can see, Radoshelm is in P6. Stefan Rands in P5. That is huge controversy in the final few laps of the race. Banks gets a 3-second time penalty, but Gooch has retired in the pits and he has left the session. But the big news coming out of Montreal is the collision between the top two drivers in the race who were running P1 and P2. Probably someone misjudged and no, there was not enough space for Stefan Rands to go towards the left. He has lost his wing, has made a pit stop, has come out in P5 right now, and because he has no time penalties, he will, because of his pace, he will definitely finish in P4 maybe, because the gap is 4.3 seconds and coming down every minute. But he might even get P3 here. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. But people who are battling for the podium is also Massiak and even Belov now, because with Stefan down in P5, both of these drivers have a shot at the podium, and right now as it stands, Massiak will finish on the podium. You can see time penalties. He has 3 more seconds of time penalties than even Belov, but the gap is more than 3 seconds. That has been teetering on the edge. Stefan Rands at the same time absolutely flying, and he has closed down the gap to Ivan Belov in just a couple of sectors. This is also going to be, by the way, a very easily a fastest lap of the race on those new fresh set of soft tires. So be prepared to see the fastest lap as he puts the fastest sector already. He has closed the gap down considerably on Ivan Belov up front, and will also be getting a little bit of a tow from the Racing Point driver before they start the next lap. Let's continue on board with Stefan Rands, and this is going to be a charge from the back for him. Let's see what this lap is going to be. The gap is less than 8 seconds. He has, let's have a look at the fastest lap. Where is the fastest lap? There it is. The fastest lap right now is at 10.5. Stefan Rands is at 10.6, and he is within range. He will get DRS on this straight as well as on the next straight. Does he wait? Not sure if he will wait. Ivan Belov sticks to the right, then comes to the middle of the track. Stefan Rands going to send it down the inside. He has, and he is comfortably past the Racing Point driver. He will still finish as Zedzek gets a time penalty. He will definitely finish ahead of Massiak now because of time penalties, and with just 1.5 laps to go, can he actually get the podium here? Not really sure. The gap to Alfam is around 15 seconds, but if he can get that gap down to less than 12 seconds, even that is something which is possible. He's definitely going to finish on the podium, but not sure. He has 2 full laps to do that, so it is quite possible. But will it happen? We'll have to wait and watch the final few laps. We will stay with him because no other battles are going on anywhere else. Look at the gap considerably coming down, and this is going to be very tight here. He can actually get P2, which is absolutely bonkers because he was out in P5, and that's why these races in Canada are so close on time penalties. He is on course to get P3, but he has 1 more lap to go, and I think he will definitely get P2 here. Look at the pace he is using, and what a drive this has been. He was going to get the win, and that was not to come, unfortunately, because of that incident with Fry Pepper. But right now, as it stands, he is just outside the 12-second window, but he has 2/3 of the lap to go. He can see the car of Messiak in front. If he can get within that 1 second, he will also get DRS. So let's ride on board with him for the rest of the lap. He is within DRS. Stefan Rans has left the session. He has been disconnected, unfortunately, and that is something really unfortunate. We ride now back to Fry Pepper, who is going to cross the line in first, and a controversial accident with Stefan Rans is going to be taken to Stewards, with Alfa finishing in P2 for now. Messiak will finish on the podium in P3. Stefan Rans, that is really unfortunate. He was on course to get P2 but got disconnected on the last lap in the second sector. He finishes P3 still because he is ahead of Messiak. Ivan Belov will finish P4. Radoshelm in P5. Banks will finish in P6. Banks will finish in P7 rather. Paul will finish in P8. So the midfield drivers of Messiak, Belov, Banks, Paul, Edzak had a lot of battles. Radoshelm had a slightly underwhelming race. Edzak will finish in P9 in the Ferrari with his teammate being absent. Sachi will finish in P10, and those are your top 10 drivers for the race. We will quickly look at the classifications. Unfortunately, we will not have time for the post-race interviews, but I would have really liked to talk to Radoshelm and his teammate, more importantly, in Stefan Rans. Fry Pepper, what happened in that incident is something which I'm sure the viewers also would like to know. But quickly looking at the race classifications before we end the coverage, it's Fry Pepper is winning the race with starting on pole and finishing in first, with Alfam in P2. Stefan Rans, good recovery from him and finishing P3 on the podium. Messiak in P4, Ivan Belov in P5, Radoshelm finishing P6, Banks in P7, Paul Jones in P8, Edzak and Kaizaji, the last few people in the points. Optimus Prime finishing in P11, and the non-finishers, just two non-finishers today, which is DJ Cooch and CRL Alex in the Red Bull. Right, so that has been the coverage for F3, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you did. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. And this is You Can Beat Me, your host and commentator. I will see you next week for the F4 race and maybe even the F3 race if I am asked to step in. But until then, take care of yourselves. Enjoy your F2 race and the F1 race tomorrow. F2 race is probably in some time, and I think maybe in 40 minutes. F1 race is tomorrow on Sunday, and we will see you next week. Goodbye. Take care.